Welcome, everyone, to week 2 of Dear Mr. Fantasy. Dear Mr. Fantasy, we're getting ready for another NFL Sunday. I am one of your hosts, Ben Mintz, joined by, I feel like a man that deserves more than just calling him a co-host because that sells short how he runs this operation. Our other host, Stephen Shea, joins us. Stephen, man, it just week 1 lived up to the hype. So much fun.
Big time.
And excited to be back with you here and get ready for kickoff in an hour and a half.
This is great. I'm wondering, so 11:30 just hit. We're waiting for maybe some surprises. Last week we had 2 surprises with Zach Moss and Trey Sermon being surprise inactives at the last minute, which obviously changed the status of the starters in those roles. So I'm anxious to see what else comes in. Big week for both of us last week, combined 8-0 in both of our leagues. So hopefully we can dish out some of that wisdom to everyone asking questions. We took a ton of questions. Please, if you're watching this, upvote this stream, hit the like button, get more exposure, get more questions. Let's get that going. But yeah, it's a fun week. Fantasy week 2 about to kick off. If your squad started off as a low point score, maybe we can change that. If they start off as a high point score, let's keep it going.
Yeah, and it's fascinating in week 2 because we all spend 6 months getting ready for NFL Sunday week 1. And then we naturally overreact to what we see because we've been just so starving and hungry for football. And so week 2, it's all about analyzing what was a real and what was a mirage, who's going to bounce back, who had the fluke starts. And so we're going to try to do our best for you guys. And I appreciate everybody in the chat. We got a lot of questions already, which I love to see. And just also thanks to Martin Black, our producer. And enjoyed. We got good reviews on our Pro Football Show segment this morning too, Mr. Shea. So good job.
Great, love to hear that. But you yesterday, before we get right into it, and as this list comes out, it's already Jamison Crowder and Paris Campbell, who had a couple tutties last week, inactive. Talk about last night. You had a big parlay. And then let's hear some of your picks for today. I think that's what the people want, and then we'll get into questions.
Yeah. So last night, and I won't go too long into this because this is pro football, and we move on quick, but. I hit my biggest parlay since I've been at Barstool. I do these Mincy bombs in college football specifically, and I hit a 3-teamer at 21.5 units on a 3-teamer. The Pick Central crew are going to be pissed on Monday when they see the standings. Had Ole Miss by 20.5 over Tulane. I moved the line up from 14, and they killed them 61-21. And then I had BYU money line plus 156 over Arizona State. BYU had a defensive back pulled old school George Teague, where BYU's quarterback throws a bad pick and a running back runs all the way down the field and strips the ASU DB on the 15. It was unreal. And I also had San Diego State money line and Shea. First triple overtime game with the new college football rules. In the third OT now, you just run 2-point conversions because they don't want the games to run long. San Diego State brings back the Philly special at the beginning of the third OT. Scores. Utah, a receiver thought he caught it, ended up being trapped, no good. Plus 21.5 units. I won 24 units yesterday. I mean, what's not to love? We just got to keep this momentum going toward Sunday and ready to do the dang thing.
Love that. I was going to get into a couple of our individual props, but I think they're actually going to come naturally. So let's kind of sprinkle those in throughout. I already got a good question over here. Marty from Gabrielle Nadra. PPR, Naheem Hines or Jamal Williams? So this is actually one of my favorite props of this week. Jamal Williams isn't the starter, technically. DeAndre Swift is. Very much a timeshare running back by committee backfield last week. We saw DeAndre Swift and Jamal Williams finish, I believe it was RB4, RB5 last week. Jamal Williams, I love this week. He's playing in a revenge game. I actually like him. On the Barstool Sportsbook, the only play for Williams, since he isn't the full-time starter, is to score a touchdown. I actually took that at plus 260, one of my favorite bets of the week. He caught, I believe it was 8 passes last week, so it's hard to not like Jamal Williams. I think I think it's 11.5-point dogs on Monday Night Football. They're going to be trailing. Jared Goff got so many points in garbage time last week. I love Jamal Williams.
I just want to back you up and say I do too. because when you look at the Colts against the Rams today, the Bears ran the ball all over the Rams, okay? That was all they could do. If the Colts are going to have any chance in that game, ball control and running Jonathan Taylor like 30 times. And so I don't think they want to play from behind and get Hines involved as much today. I think they want to run the ball and shorten the game against Stafford and the Colts. So I'm going with Jamal Williams too. I like that.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'll throw one up to you, Mincy. Here's an interesting one. PPR, Gronk or Kyle Pitts? Mincy, who you got? This is from Varol.
That's a tough one, but I'm going with Gronk. I think as long as Gronk is healthy, people really underrate him in fantasy still. Brady loves looking for him in the red zone. He caught, 6 balls last week, I believe? Something like that?
8 passes, 8 targets, 8 catches, 90 yards, 2 tutties.
Man, so I just think the thing is with Gronk, everybody looks at him like, oh, this dude's older. They just save him for the playoffs. They may shut him down at some point in the season and be careful with him. But as of right now, him and Brady are in a great groove. Last year, Gronk was coming off a year of retirement, was a little rusty, learning a new offense. Man, Brady loves looking to him in the red zone. He's hot. And Kyle Pitts could emerge as the season goes on. Don't get me wrong, but Shay, you and I share the same doubts. Rookie tight ends, it's a big struggle in transition. So, and also the Bucs have, really good, a lot of speed to try to cover him with Davonte David and some of the safeties. So I'm going with Gronk.
Yeah. All right, hold on. We got the actives, inactives list is officially out. So out is, for fantasy perspective, Paris Campbell, Denzel Mims, Jamison Crowder. I mean, those guys are fringe fantasy starters, all of them. A couple of your Saints guys, defensive guys, Marshawn Lattimore and CJ Gardner-Johnson are out. Bradley Chubb is in. Gabe Davis of the Bills is in. Keelan Cole of Jets is in. Jonnu Smith, who's certainly a tight end play, is active. Trey Sermon active, so he's going to make his debut this week. That's big for the Niners backfield. What does that mean for Elijah Mitchell? Let's talk about that in a second. Michael Pittman for the Colts. Zach Moss is going to make his debut this week for the Bills. Eric Fisher for the Colts. That's big, so he's going to be their left tackle. Ramondre Stevenson for the Patriots is inactive, so that could actually help Damian Harris, who was rumored to have maybe fewer touches after a fumble issue last week, and Jamison Crowder, which you touched on, inactive. So not a ton of surprises, but let's talk about 2 from last week. Mincy, Trey Sermon being active. How does this affect your confidence in the number 1 waiver guy last week, Eli Mitchell by Yahoo?
It was interesting to me. So Mitchell, was a Louisiana Lafayette guy, and he's young too. I think Mitchell is going to be still maybe a few more carries than Sermon, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 15 and 8 kind of thing. I think Sermon's going to – I don't think he's going to get thrown in there and just be the starter, immediately. Mm-hmm. But Shanahan's known to ride the hot hand. I think Mitchell's going to get the start, but Sermon's going to be the change of pace guy, and they're both going to get carries. I think Mitchell – I expect to still get a few more.
And after 1 week of football, the San Francisco 49ers are the number 1 scoring offense in the NFL. So even if you're getting number 2 carries there, that could be a pretty big role. And then what about Zach Moss? Does this affect anything with Devin Singletary? I think it kind of takes Devin Singletary away from being like a fantasy starter, even an RB2 or a flex option. He's very kind of a fringe flex option for me now.
Yeah, that's where I am too. I think it's going to be a split. I actually like Zach Moss long-term a lot more than most people. I thought he was incredible coming out of Utah. Just kind of had one thing after another his rookie year. Kind of struggled. He had some injuries, kind of had some fumbles too. But I feel like people are forgetting about him, and I think he could emerge as the guy in Buffalo as the year goes on. But as far as this week goes, I think you just gotta wait and see. Would you like me to take a question for you?
Yeah. Throw a question up for me.
All right, we've got a question from Soapy Sam. Kareem Hunt at home against Houston or Chase Edmonds at home against the Minnesota Vikings in PPR?
Interesting. So I would actually kind of lean Kareem Hunt. It's what's the line? Is it 13.5?
It is.
13.5. So I mean the Browns are going to beat the brakes off the Texans, who had a nice showing last week. I actually had them to win outright money line. But, I mean, they were playing the Jaguars, who are terrible. Kareem Hunt is firmly the number 2. It's not really a timeshare. Nick Chubb's going to get the majority of the work. But when the game's out of hand, Nick Chubb dealt with injuries in college. Kareem Hunt is certainly a viable option. He's getting paid like a viable option. He's going to get carries. He's going to salt the clock away. I think Kareem Hunt's going to be a viable fantasy performer today, so I'm going with Kareem Hunt. Okay. All right, let's go. Half-point PPR. This is from Mitchell Osterland. Tyson Williams, Brandon Ayuk, or Nyheim Hines. Mincy, take that one.
I think I'm going Tyson Williams. I know that they're going to continue to incorporate Lat Murray and Davonte Freeman, all the ex-guys that couldn't make the Saints now are their backups. But I think if the Ravens are going to have a shot in this game against KC, and they've struggled with KC in these matchups, Lamar's 0-3. Got to run the ball, man. And this is actually going to tie into our Sunday night football, fantasy football factory parlay because Tyson Williams is involved with that. I'm going with Tyson Williams because if there's any chance, the Ravens have got to establish the run. Chiefs' run defense isn't necessarily that great. The way to beat Patrick Mahomes is dominate the time of possession and keep his ass on the sideline. So I'm going with Tyson Williams. I think he's going to be a huge part of the game plan today.
Why don't we do this? Let's kind of pick out our own questions and then read them so we're most comfortable with those answers. So let's go with Tyler Guth. Robbie Anderson or I just missed that. Robbie Anderson or Marvin Jones for flex half-point PPR. So Robbie Anderson hit my favorite bet of the week last week, which was touchdown Robbie Anderson and over 55.5 yards. I said he could do it on one play. He did it, 55-yard touchdown. The Panthers technically are they're the number 2 ranked rushing defense. That doesn't have anything to do with offense when I get at here. Marvin Jones, it's kind of he's going to get a lot of stuff in garbage time. I am not a huge Marvin Jones guy. Robbie Anderson against the Saints. I think what could play into this. Okay, here we go. Rushing defense. New Orleans was number 1. Carolina was number 2. So we could see both teams air the ball out a little bit more. It's tough to really judge Sam Darnold with one start in Carolina. Did spread the ball around. Robbie Anderson, they did have some shots drawn up for him. If this turns into a high-scoring affair, which is kind of hard to tell based on 1 week of information with both starting quarterbacks, Jameis and Sam Darnold, if it will be. But Robbie Anderson is the guy that can take the top off the defense and does provide that extra element. I would go with Robbie Anderson, but understand he is going to be a little bit more boom or bust. If you need a little bit of a safer play that you're going to get 4 catches, 50, 60 yards, I think Marvin Jones is going to be your guy, but Robbie Anderson certainly has a much higher ceiling.
Yeah, I'm going with Robbie Anderson because I also want to re-mention, you just mentioned the Saints injuries. I mean, they're going to be playing without Marshall Lattimore and Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, 2 of their best guys in the secondary. The Saints are thin at corner behind them. And I know the Saints and Panthers both played unders last week, but in this series, these are historically, for some reason, these Saints-Panthers games known to get a little wild, as NFC South games often do. So I think I'm going with Robbie Anderson here. And I thought Darnold, even though they were playing with the lead, second half, I thought he looked good. The only concern with Anderson, Terrace Marshall's there now, so they got 3 receivers. So that hurts the target here a little bit. All right. I'm going to keep these questions going. In the flex, Deebo Samuel's coming off a huge week. Man, him and Garoppolo tore it up.
Who asked the question? Mincy?
Oh, I'm sorry. TB12 Goat Man, your boy.
Let's go.
He has Deebo or Chase Claypool in his flex. Deebo at Philly, Chase Claypool at home against the Raiders.
Who do you like? Let's pick them out for ourselves.
Okay, my bad. I'm sorry, Shay. All right, in this one, man, this is tough. But I'm gonna have to go with Deebo just because even though this is what we talked about. The week 1 was it a fluke, or not? The reason I'm going with Deebo is I think he's got a chemistry with Garoppolo that Ayuk doesn't have yet.
Yep.
And he just got so many targets last week that I just can't put him on the bench when he had 11 catches. And Claypool, who I love and could score a touchdown, you're still dealing with Juju and Deontay Johnson, and I think they hopefully get Najee Harris going this week. So I'm going to go with Deebo just because the target share was too much to ignore.
Yeah, one of my favorite bets this week is actually Jimmy Garoppolo under 1.5 touchdowns. We saw Trey Lance come in around the goal line. I think that's certainly going to play a factor. We got Trey Sermon active today, which could lead to a rushing score. a little bit more of a prototypical goal line back. I know that, 2 backs scored rushing touchdowns last week, but I just anticipate them kind of being a little bit more low scoring than, leading the league basically in points. All right, let's go to here we go. From David Gunnis, QB2, Mac Jones or Jameis Winston? I mean, Mincy kind of alluded to it before. NFC South battles tend to be a little bit higher scoring. I understand that the Patriots are playing the Jets, and it should be kind of a beatdown. I think the Pats are road favorites. What is the line? Is it 6?
Pats,
yeah, 6 points. But the over-under is 43. So we're looking at, kind of a low-scoring game there. The over-under for Saints, Panthers is 44.5, so not much more. Jameis Winston 5 touchdowns last week. I mean, I know he only threw the ball 20 times, 148 yards, but he's a guy who has always, and back to 2019 when he was a full-time starter, he finished QB3. Like, this guy puts up fantasy points. Turnovers aren't the end of the world in fantasy football, as long as you're putting up yards and touchdowns, which he will do. So Jameis Winston, for sure, he's a very good QB2 in super flex leagues. He's a start all the time. Mac Jones, fringe QB2 even in super flex leagues.
Yeah, that's I'm going Jameis Winston for sure there. I think, you mentioned he only threw 20 passes, but that was a game script thing. The Saints were leading 17-13, or 17-3 at half. We're running the ball, keeping Rodgers on the sideline. I think Jameis is going to throw a lot more passes than 20 today. So I think that was kind of a little bit of a fluke. Man, we got a lot of questions here. I appreciate all you guys.
Remember, please upvote the stream. Upvote the stream, please.
What's up?
Upvote, or for the viewers, upvote the stream. Please click the like on the stream just so we can
okay.
Nummies.
Okay, I see one now that's Juju Smith or Corey Davis. And the guys, I'm sorry, the chat knocked off who it was. I apologize. I can't see who asked the question, but out of Juju Smith or Corey Davis, Juju Smith-Schuster or Corey Davis, I think I'm going to go with Corey Davis just because the target share as well. Even if I don't feel like it's going to be the high scoring game, it's just this Pittsburgh situation's tough with the 3 receivers to know who's going to get the ball. And last week, Corey Davis, it looked like Zach Wilson can really push the ball down the field. That looks to be one of his strengths, his arm strength. And so Corey Davis had almost 100 yards. And I liked the chemistry they had. So
he got a couple garbage time, points that'll add on to their matchup. That's kind of what you're looking for out of, wide receiver 3. Be tough with a wide receiver 2, a PPR. Yeah, Corey Davis, number 1 option. Pittsburgh, they've just got so many options. Like, it's going to, Deontay Johnson. It's going to Chase Claypool. Juju has that rapport with Ben, sure, but he's going to be a little bit more variable week to week.
I agree. All right.
Marty had one that he was going to queue up for us. That was a big one.
Okay.
He said, never mind, it's lost. Okay. All right, I'll take one. Jonathan Davis asking, Julio Jones, Mike Evans, or Deontay Harris? This is a tough one because, as I've talked about with Bucs receivers, somebody's going to be huge every week. But then that also leads someone to be okay and then someone to not be great. Evans is going to be tough to predict week over week. Julio did not look good last week. A couple drops, not someone that would instill a lot of confidence in me. They are playing the Seahawks, and the over-under for that is 53.5. So I would kind of look to that. But I'm going to go Mike Evans here. Not really. I don't think Deontay Harris is in either of their leagues. That's kind of a boomer bust play. I would go with Evans just because he is that wide receiver 1 and is going to get those looks, especially deep. The over-under is 52.5 for Bucs Falcons. Julio Jones certainly has some upside, but just last week just did not look good. Evans at least was getting targets. He had 2 that were tipped just before he got them. He probably should have finished around 80 yards. About 60 yards once everything was said and done. He's going to get red zone looks, so I would like Mike Evans. Julio, allergic to the red zone. Not a good fantasy start.
I like Evans here easily. I think that Tom Brady's so good at distributing the ball. He's going to want to get Evans involved this week after what happened last week. And like you said, Atlanta's got a bad defense. They just score a lot of points. I look for him to make some plays down the field.
Yeah.
All right. Next question. We've got somebody said he's got. Do you start? Okay. Golly, I'm sorry. I lost the name again. Debo. He's got Debo, Mike Williams, and Calvin Ridley asking if he should bench Calvin Ridley for those guys. And I'd say no.
No.
There's no way. I think this is what we talked about where, Ridley struggled week 1. I mean, they scored 6 points. But Ridley was a lot of people have top 5 is a top 5 receiver, if not top 8, 10 at the worst. You can't one bad game. You can't panic on that. I mean, there's no way. And so I think I definitively stick with Ridley. You're looking at a whole season's worth of data last year versus 1 week, and that's something you don't overdo that.
Yeah, so Calvin Ridley is going to be in the 4 o'clock slate going against the Bucs. Carlton Davis is a really, really good corner. Had an excellent week 1. Shut down Amari Cooper on a bunch of plays. Amari Cooper, he wasn't shadowing him or following him. But Carlton Davis showed up on the injury report late in the week. So it'll be interesting to see if he plays today. I think he will, but just something to monitor. Calvin Ridley, though, automatic start, any format, whether it's PPR, best ball, anything. Calvin Ridley start every week.
Agreed.
Here we go. We got Alexander Pompey, PPR, pick 1, Tyson Williams, Chris Carson, Jamal Williams, Elijah Mitchell. Ooh, this is a tough one. You can only pick one RB. I would say Chris Carson's probably going to give you the highest floor. Elijah Mitchell, you think is going to be there and going to be that guy. But with Trey Sermon now active, how does that eat into his carries? We saw Michael Hasty even get a couple carries last week and a touchdown. Jamal Williams, I do like a lot in a revenge game with scoring. And if it's PPR, he's going to catch passes. Tyson Williams is going to be, with Baltimore looking to establish the run. This is an interesting one. I think you have to look at your matchups. Take a look at the projected. Maybe the guy across, if you're in a super flex league, the guy you're playing started Daniel Jones on Thursday, and you have a point deficit to make up. In which case, you're going to kind of swing for the fences. I think the highest ceiling of this group is going to be Elijah Mitchell, just based on San Francisco's the top scoring offense. They're based on his production last week. It could get a lot better this week. He's going to be playing the full game. But I think probably the safest play is going to be Chris Carson. I really do like Jamal Williams, but compared to this group, I wouldn't put him in there. So I'd say Chris Carson is going to be your safest play. For swing for the fences, Elijah Mitchell.
I'm going with Chris Carson and backing that up. I went against him last week, and he had 16 carries for 91 yards against a good Colts run defense. Very high over-under, like 54 in Tennessee, Seattle.
Yep.
I think Carson's got a favorable situation today. So
Yep.
I'm going to back that up. All right. Marty said he's got 2 money questions coming. Oh, here's one from Alex Crane. We got Antonio Brown or Allen Robinson at PPR. It's hard. Look, it's very hard to bench Antonio Brown after how he looked week 1. But this gets back to what Chase said with the 3 guys. And I think Allen Robinson still, even though he didn't have a great game, he got a crap ton of targets last week.
11 targets.
Yeah, and then he's playing the Bengals at home. He's the number 1. Whereas AB could have a good game, but you're dealing with Evan. You got Gronk, you got Evans, you got Chris Godwin. So I'm going with Allen Robinson here because of the target share. Yeah,
I like Allen Robinson. One of my favorite bets of the day is Allen Robinson over 5.5 catches. He had 6 catches for I think 35 yards last week. But again, 11 targets. Andy Dalton is starting, and he's playing the Bengals. So I always love the revenge game factor. So I like Allen Robinson a lot this week.
And Marty's got another one coming. He's got a full PPR for a number 2 flex. This is a good one.
This is a good one, yeah.
Marquez Callaway at Carolina, Mooney for Chicago at home against the Bengals, or Kenyon Drake at home or at Pittsburgh. This one, I'm curious to see what you think because I'm high on Callaway and Drake this week. Callaway, everybody was all about him preseason. He had the 2 touchdowns on Monday night from Winston. Everybody saw against Jacksonville. Did nothing week 1, but we talked about it. Saints threw 20 passes. Green Bay's got a really good number 1 corner, Jaire Alexander. I think this is Callaway's breakout week. He had a really good game last week against Carolina. That was his best game. I think this game's going to get a little wilder. I like him. But with Josh Jacobs being out and you're in a full-point PPR, Kenyon Drake's going to catch the balls. I mean, he had 6 catches last week. So I feel like if you were going like crazy upside, I'd gamble Callaway. But if you want steady – and you're just trying to win a head-to-head matchup, I think you got to go with Drake because, I think he's just going to – I just feel like you're going to get 6, 7, 8 catches from him.
Completely agree. He has the safest floor and probably the highest ceiling. Callaway could certainly catch a bomb or 2 for a touchdown, but I would say Drake is the safest with a very, very good ceiling as well.
Awesome. Next question from Nick Carter. We know how we're going to answer this. Cooper Kupp, Javonte Williams, or Tyson Williams for flex at a full-point PPR. It's Cooper Kupp all day, Sunday, Saturday, Monday. Doesn't matter. Full-point PPR, Cooper Kupp, start. immediately. End of question. End of discussion.
Cooper Kupp is a machine. I mean, me and Mincy are huge Cooper Kupp guys. Cooper Kupp's over Robert Woods every day. Cooper Kupp had a great game last week, got loose for the big touchdown. Cooper Kupp PPR, yeah, easy Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, full point PPR is just cherry on cherry on the sundae here. And I loved what I heard on the broadcast. Cooper Kupp and Stafford eat breakfast together 2 hours before everybody else gets to the Rams facility.
Really? Okay.
Oh, yeah. That's what I like to hear.
Yeah. All right, love that. Nick Carter, shout out Backstreet Boys. Let's go. All right, let me go. Here we go. From Jack Murray, pick 3 out of 4 PPR. We got Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon, Robbie Anderson, Marquez Callaway. So I think Mincy and I are going to be on similar pages here. I like Marquez Callaway big for a bounce back this week. I think he's going to be really solid. He did not have a good game last week, but again, they took the air out of the football. Jameis only threw it 20 times. I like Marquez Callaway to bounce back. As far as the other two, PPR, Robbie Anderson doesn't help you a ton because he's not going to catch a ton of, but he is that deep threat. I know last year he had a bunch of catches. I think he had something like 94 catches. And then you got to pick one of the two Denver running backs. They're playing Jacksonville. They're going to beat the brakes off them.
I don't know. I kind of like we'll get to that in a minute.
I like Javonte Williams of this group just because on a timeshare, 50-50. I think he has better upside, and I think they're going to try and get him more reps against Jacksonville. It's a 6-point spread, which is surprising. I really like Denver on that. But I think Javonte Williams is going to have a better day than Melvin Gordon this week, even though he didn't last week. So I'm going to go Pookie Williams, Javonte Williams, Robbie Anderson, and Marquez Callaway.
All right. Look, I love Callaway this week. I'm big on his props too.
Yeah.
All right, Marty, do you have any more? Do you want to?
Oh, here we go. Here, let me take this one. This is my matchup. It's Falcons, Bucks, Mike Davis or Ronald Jones for the RB2 spot. This is going to be tough because Mike Davis gets carries. Cordell Patterson got a surprising amount of carries last week, but Mike Davis is going to be that guy. Arthur Smith likes to, have kind of a bell cow looking back with Derrick Henry. Ronald Jones is going to be interesting. He's going to get the start. But Bruce Arians also said he has 3 starters in the backfield of Leonard Fournette, Ronald Jones, and Giovanni Bernard. So this will be an interesting one. Ronald Jones is going to be, again, more of that boomer bust. So take a look at your matchup, take a look at your projections. If you need to make up points, Ronald Jones is a swing for the fences guy. What goes against Mike Davis and prevents this from being a layup is that the Bucs for the last 2 years have been the number 1 run defense in football. So I don't foresee him having a lot of success. I could see him punching it in. I think for fantasy purposes, and I am completely unbiased here, obviously I'm a huge Bucs fan, but I think you got to start Mike Davis. I just don't think Ronald Jones is a dependable fantasy starter, given that, very similar to, whoever asked us the Juju Smith-Schuster question. It's just too many mouths to feed. You don't know who's going to be hot. He could certainly break loose for a 98-yard touchdown like he did against Carolina last year, but I got to go Mike Davis. It's a safer floor for sure.
Yeah, 2's company, 3's the crowd, man.
Ronald Jones, -0.6 points in week 1, so I think you got to go Mike Davis.
Yeah, Gio Bernard is getting used a little more. I mean, I knew that when they signed him, they thought he might be a third.
Oh, he's going to be the third down back all the time.
Yeah, and so I didn't, that hurts into Jones because, I just think it's too hard to.
All right, you take one, Mincy.
Okay, next one. Let's go with PPR league from Reed Harmon, James Robinson versus Denver, Javonte Williams at Jacksonville, or Myles Gaskin at home against Buffalo. Tough question here, kind of, because the matchup's not great for James Robinson. I think I'm going to lean Gaskin just because he's the guy for sure, even though I don't love his upside.
Right.
I think I'm going to go with him just because of that. I mean, it's tough matchups. He's playing Buffalo. James Robinson's playing Denver. Neither one are too ideal. I think I'm going to slightly lean Gaskin. But, man, I'll be honest, I don't have a strong – I probably shouldn't answer this question because I'm so close on Robinson and Gaskin. I don't have a super strong read. Do you have a thought?
If you play in a league with IDP players where you get credits for tackles, James Robinson had a hell of a tackle last week. He went across the field and tackled Trevor Lawrence interceptor. I do like Trevor Lawrence over half an interception today against Denver if you're playing that on the Barstool Sportsbook. But if you had to pick one for PPR, I think Myles Gaskin is going to be the difference maker just because he does offer that 3-down versatility. Yeah. James Robinson does as well, but the matchup is just so bad. Javonte Williams less so in the receiving space. So I would go Myles Gaskin.
Yeah, that was my logic. Was more. We talk about this all the time. Fantasy's about touches and opportunity, and Gaskin will have that in leaps and bounds today.
Yep. Here we go. Let's go. Eric Cahill, Brady or Baker Mayfield. I think this was both. You're looking at two matchups that are double-digit point favorites. Cleveland is 13.5 against Houston. Tampa is 12 or 11.5 or 12 against Atlanta. I like Tom Brady here. Just apples to apples. They're both not going to offer rushing versatility really at all. But Tom Brady, just based on his weapons, based on the matchup, he had a huge, two very big games against Atlanta to end the season last year. He's historically going back to the Super Bowl. He posted a video this week, just kind of a TB12 pump up video, and over his shoulder on his computer screen was the time 3:28, and like kind of alluding to being down 28-3 at half. I like Tom Brady. He owns the Falcons.
I'd go with Brady here all day. When you really look at how Cleveland wants to win, they want to be balanced. They want to run the ball, play action. They don't really, want to just chunk it all the time, and they feel like the Bucs are comfortable with Brady, in my opinion.
Yeah.
All right. Full point, or actually, Marty's got one. From MG3, Tyson Williams, Jarvis Landry, Darrell Henderson need an RB and a flex.
MG3 is Melvin Gordon III.
I'm sorry. I thought it was MG3. Rudy's the question. I'm definitely going Darrell Henderson for sure, because he just was on the field like almost the entire game last week. He was the guy. I look for Sonny Michel to come on, and he played some last week. They just traded for him. As the year goes on, maybe it becomes more of a split, but it's all Henderson right now. And then for the flex, Melvin Gordon versus Tyson's close. God, Gordon's got a good matchup in Jacksonville. I think I'm still going to go with Tyson, though, because they just have to run the ball against KC. That's their only hope, I think. What do you think of Tyson or Melvin Gordon?
It's tough. A report came out today that Baltimore is going to ride the hot hand, which means it's going to be Latavius Murray or Tyson Williams.
Okay.
Davonte Freeman, I think, just got promoted to the active roster as well. But I like Tyson Williams. He just does it all. So I like him. They're going to establish the run. He needed an RB and a flex. So, yeah, Darrell Henderson, I think, is a start at running back, and then I would go Tyson Williams.
Okay, yeah, that was what that was my thoughts, too. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're on the same – despite our very different personality, Shay, we're on the same page more often.
Thank you, Will, for listening to the podcast. Appreciate that. All right, let's go. Benjamin Pace, he's looking for a flex, half-point PPR, Deebo Samuel, Damian Harris, Robert Woods, Chris Godwin. I think this is an interesting question because you got guys that are really good. If you're looking individually, I think Robert Woods or Chris Godwin are going to be the highest ranked individually of this bunch. It's tough because I do like Godwin, but against Atlanta, it's really going to be a little bit harder to predict. Whereas I know Van Jefferson scored a touchdown last week. They got Deshaun Jackson, they got Tutu Atwell, in addition to our guy Cooper Kupp. But I like Robert Woods of this group. Certainly, Deebo Samuel had an enormous game last week. Can he repeat that? I don't think he's going to be a guy who's going to be like top 10 in yards. So I'm going to buy a little bit of Deebo Samuel regression, and I think Robert Woods is probably going to be the safest play of this bunch, but Deebo certainly has a ton of upside. Damian Harris.
I'm going Robert Woods here, half-point PPR. I like him and Kupp. I know we prefer Kupp to him. We talked about that, but I still really like Woods.
No slate on Robert Woods?
No. Fast-track game in Indy. You look how that Rams offense looked last week. I'm going Woods here.
And the Colts have historically had, going back to last year with DeForest Buckner, a good run defense. So I said it before, I love Matthew Stafford over the touchdown and a half. Robert Woods certainly can get in the end zone.
I like it as well. Let's see. Okay, I got from Justin Alvarado, PPR, Jamar Chase, who had the long touchdown last week and kind of dispelled notions that he could actually see in NFL football when it's in the air. Or Antonio Brown in PPR, full-point PPR, Chase at the Bears, Brown at home against the Falcons. This is a tough one because both teams have three receivers. I'm just golly, this one's I almost shouldn't have even asked.
So the over under for Chicago Cincinnati is 45. The over under for Tampa Atlanta is 52.5.
Yeah, and I also want to say this. I think Antonio Brown, with it being PPR, favors Brown. Like, I think Chase is going to be kind of a home run guy, a guy Burrow looks for down the field, just like he did at LSU. But as far as PPR goes, you're looking for guys that have the higher floor, I think. And so I'm going to go with Antonio Brown just because of that. But I actually have this exact question on a couple of my teams because I own both these guys on some teams.
I want to take one from Omar. Half-point PPR, Waller or Gronk. Darren Waller is going to be tight end one every time. Even if you don't have a tight end position and are just starting flexes where you can play a tight end, Darren Waller all the time. He would have been wide receiver 8 last year. He got 19 targets last week. Darren Waller, Gronk had a great game, 8 targets, 8 catches, 90 yards, 2 tutties. But Darren Waller, 19 targets, never, ever sit Darren Waller unless he is, very hurt and can barely move. Darren Waller all the time.
Yes.
That is the last Darren Waller question I feel in this show. He's starting all the time.
All right, from Matt Sean, we got Mark Ingram, who had the 26 carries for 85 yards last week. Sony Michel, who did not get much timeshare, or Michael Carter needs one in a full, Michael Carter against the Pats needs one in a full point PPR. Man, Tony says tons of injuries. I feel bad for this. This is a tough question.
Yeah, this is a 16-team league. Start 3 running backs, couple flexes.
This is a real tough one. I'm crossing Michelle off just because I didn't like the time split, and I know that Ingram and Carter will be on the field more. The Ingram versus Carter made full PPR. I guess Ingram just because I know he's going to be out there, but that's
he's got the highest floor.
Yeah, the only problem I'm worried if they get down big though, they'll put Lindsey out there. But I just think the fact that Ingram had the 26 carries, he's the guy you go with. Though, how do you feel about Michael Carter?
I like Michael Carter, but you got to be patient with rookies. In week 2, it's really not going to be his time yet. Like, he hasn't really separated himself on the field yet. I totally agree with you. The Sony Michel thing, just not getting enough. I'm sure he doesn't know enough the playbook yet. Like, he just came over from the Patriots. Mark Ingram, safe. He was one of my sits this week. But if you're talking about the other options, I like the Mark Ingram. It's going to be the most predictable. They're going to lose. He doesn't offer position versatility as far as catching the ball. He had 1 target, no catches last week. But overall, Mark Ingram's going to have the safest floor of this bunch.
Yeah, well, you just know he's getting the ball, and that goes fairly far, in my opinion.
Yeah, let's take maybe our final 5, Mincy.
Okay, let's do that, and I'll run off my gambling card too.
Okay.
But yeah, I kind of feel like okay, we'll take the questions, then I'll just say something.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. It's a quarterback question. Where did it go? Fletcher McSpadden. Stick with Aaron Rodgers or bench him for Jalen Hurts? Wow. Now, this is a very, very interesting one. The over-under for Philadelphia, San Francisco is 49, so it's, pretty sizable. Green Bay, Detroit's 48.5. This is tough because Jalen Hurts does give you that rushing upside, and he looked really good this week or last week.
Niners got bad injuries at DB right now, too.
We're going to see Josh Norman starting. He signed with the team 2 weeks ago. A veteran, certainly not a ton of concerns there. I think the safest play is going to be Aaron Rodgers. Just historically, he can't be as bad as he was last week. Jalen Hurts does offer more upside, though. As crazy as that sounds, just because he does offer that rushing upside to be able to, have these, 30, 40-point games from the quarterback position. Aaron Rodgers is going to be the safe play. Jalen Hurts, if you're feeling dangerous, needs to make up some points. I think that's the way you're going to go.
I think you got to go Rodgers in the bounce back at home in this matchup against Detroit, though. And don't get me wrong. I know I was on an island and I was way wrong on Hurts, and I like him this week. I'm not, just saying this because I went against him before the year. I just think when you look at Rodgers' whole career, this is the relax, this is the bounce back spot. He's got a very favorable matchup. The Niners scored all they wanted last week against Detroit, so I'm going with Rodgers.
All right, you take one.
Okay. Let's see what we got next. Flex from Ransom Durazio. Sorry. Mike Williams versus Cowboys. DJ Moore versus Saints. Elijah Mitchell at Philly. Naheem Hines versus the LA Rams, or Cole Beasley at Miami. This comes down to Mike Williams or DJ Moore to me. And, man, I know Mike Williams has been one of those guys in the NFL where it's been hard to predict because he's just not been able to stay on the field. But gotta like him a lot today against Dallas. Really good matchup. And, he had 80 yards and a touchdown week 1. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I think I'm going Williams. But you know what? I was about to convince myself of that. No Lattimore. I'm going DJ Moore. If Lattimore being out, it's just too much to bench Carolina's number one receiver. So I'm going DJ Moore over Williams. But I like them both. What do you think?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I find it hard to. I know he doesn't catch a ton of passes, but Elijah Mitchell has a big ceiling. PPR certainly kind of tips things in the Beasley, Naheem Hines, Mike Williams. To get 8 catches last week and a touchdown.
Good question.
That is certainly a touchdown. I think
DJ Moore is hard to bench though, man. I guess maybe I like him more.
I know he just doesn't catch touchdowns though. I might actually go for Mike Williams here, even over Eli Mitchell. The Dallas Chargers over under I think is 55. Yeah, it's 55.
That was why I was talking the Mike Williams thing.
Yeah, I would roll Mike Williams.
No Lattimore is no good for the Saints.
All right. Let's go. Timmy Matter. We got flex PPR, DeAndre Swift, Hollywood Brown, or Myles Gaskin. Definitely not Hollywood Brown. Gaskin or Swift. Swift had 8 catches last week. I just can't really get that number out of my head. I think they did a lot of screen passes.
I'm going Swift for the PPR.
Yeah, I think so.
8 catches, and then also the point we've made on the podcast. We've made a big point on this. Detroit's receiving core is bad, which opens up more targets for the running backs and tight ends.
Yeah. All right, let's take 2 more. Mincy, you take one.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going to take one from right. Let's see what we got. We've got a flex. 0.5. This is from Mike Sardella. Half-point PPR. Tyler Boyd versus Chicago. Mike Davis at Tampa. Tyson Williams versus KC, or Brandon Cooks at Cleveland. I feel like Cooks is a bench this week, even though he had the 100 yards last week. I think it was kind of just at home and a good matchup against Jacksonville. I always like Cooks kind of indoors too, more on faster tracks. Because of this, I am leaning. I'm worried what you said about Baltimore riding the hot hand, but I'm still going to go Tyson Williams here because I just don't like Davis' matchup.
Okay. Let's do. Let's end on this one. So this is just a Jack Gill, was just a classic fantasy dilemma. None of these guys you would necessarily want to start. David Johnson or Mark Ingram. So this is gonna be tough. This has to be like an RB2, maybe even an RB3 or a flex spot. This is tough because they're both on the Texans. David Johnson certainly offers more receiving ability.
Johnson barely played last week. And Ingram
I know. I was going to say if Phillip Lindsay was in this group, he would probably be my favorite Texan running back to start. I mean, they're going to get their doors blown off. But between these two, I think Mark Ingram's the guy you got to go with just due to the floor. I mean, 26 carries last week. I don't expect them to try and bleed the clock this week, but I still think he's going to get 15 carries, even at 3 yards a clip. We're talking at 45 yards. That's not really what you want, but maybe he gets a touchdown in there. Mark Ingram's going to be my guy out of here.
I'm going to ask one more because I want to give Patrick J a shout out. He says half-point PPR flex, Laviska Shenault versus Denver, Callaway at Carolina, or Jalen Waddle versus the Bills. I'm going Marquez Callaway. I just want to reiterate that I really like him to break out today.
All right, Mincy, let's hit your card after you were so hot from yesterday.
Yeah, let's do it. And Brandon Walker just tweeted out the standings will be under review tomorrow. If all my parlays when I lose get counted against me and I hit one, it's not allowed. You're going to see a nuclear meltdown, the lights that we've never seen on Pick Central. I mean, because I hold it back, but if he rules that ineligible after they don't, every time I post them and they lose, they count, you're going to see something. But anyway. All right, we're going to run through it. Miami, I like the Miami Dolphins plus 3.5 at home against the Bills as a home dog. Miami's got a really good home field advantage. It's hot September. We've seen Miami be tough down home and sticky in these spots for years. I like Chicago Bears by 1.5. The Andy Dalton revenge game. I think they can run the ball. Publix slamming the Cincinnati Bengals today. I think the Bengals are too public of a side. This one's tough. I'm taking the Jags plus 6 at home against Denver. It's a system play, Shay. Anytime a team loses as a road favorite and as a home underdog the next week, I've been riding it for 25 years and making a lot of money. Jacksonville lost outright as a road favorite. Now they're catching 6. We're on it. No play Houston, Cleveland. No play Rams, Colts. I like Pittsburgh by 5.5 at home against the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders, the big emotional Monday night overtime win. First game with fans. in the new stadium. Now they got a cross-country trip to Pittsburgh. I think it's a tough spot. I think the Pats-Jets is going to be lower scoring. I'm leaning under 43. Over 44.5 Saints-Panthers. NFC South games get a little wild, as we kind of talked about. I think this with Sam Darnold and Winston, the turnovers could drive up the points as well. Also, what was it? Tennessee Titans +6 in a bounce-back spot. They look like crap week 1. Everybody, public slamming Seattle by 6. Tennessee actually plays a little better on the road anyway, so we're taking Tennessee. And finally, Baltimore Ravens +4. Chiefs 9-1 in their last 10 and 1-9 against the spread. Shay, it's a crazy stat I've ever seen. The Ravens lost on the road as a road favorite last week. Now they're catching points at home. Hits the same system as the Jags. So I wanted to run through my picks. Follow me at Barstool Mincy on Twitter. All those will be going there. And do you have any props in the sportsbook you'd like to add for today?
I do, yeah. So there are a couple in the Barstool Sportsbook. These are great. I'm going to tweet a couple of these out in the next couple minutes. Monday night, Jamal Williams, revenge game against Packers. A lot of carries last week. He had a touchdown. I like him to score a touchdown against his old team, +260. I like Allen Robinson a lot today. Over 5.5 catches. Again, 11 targets last week, 6 catches. I know the yards weren't necessarily there, but Andy Dalton revenge game. I'm going to ride that a little bit. I like Jimmy G under a touchdown and a half. I mentioned this before. Trey Lance comes in around the red zone. I'm not a huge buyer in Jimmy G scoring a ton of touchdowns. Passing, they also run the ball so much. 2 parlays that I really like that I made. Leonard Fournette over 34.5 rushing yards. I think they're going to salt the game away. He is the guy to do that. And Bucks money line. I'm never going to bet Bucks point spread. Always Bucks money line. I know it's not a valuable play, but that's how I live my life. I'm not going to be happy if they cover and lose the game.
I got to call. You go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
My last one. Sorry, probably my favorite play of the day. Matthew Stafford over 1.5 touchdowns and Broncos -6. So I'm big on the Broncos covering this. I almost moved the line. I think they're going by 10 points. 10 points or more. Like, it's a double-digit win day for Denver. I just don't think Jacksonville is ready. Again, no players in my top 100 this year. Denver is a defense and established the run. Vic Fangio defense crushes rookie quarterbacks. Trevor Lawrence couldn't really compete with Lovie Smith, which is one of the most predictable defenses last week in Houston. I don't think he's going to do well against an unpredictable defense from Vic Fangio. So I love Denver to smash the Jaguars today.
I got 2. I got over 65.5 on Jonathan Taylor because I think the Colts got to pound the football to stay in the game against the Rams. And I've got over 43.5 yards on Marquez Callaway on his breakout against Carolina.
Love those.
I'm going to add that. And Nick Taraney asking, boys, pick one, Tyson Williams or Ronald Jones. We're going with Tyson for him.
Tyson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got to give Nick a shout out. One of the hosts of the Fantasy Football Factory pod. We appreciate your support.
Shout out, Nick.
I want to thank also, just thanks to everybody here. I mean, the amount of questions, I'm sorry we couldn't get to every single one of them, but we're going to continue to do this every Sunday at 11:30. Probably go. I mean, heck, this show's gone 50 minutes today. Y'all keep coming with the questions. We're going to be here for you guys. We want to help you win your league and continue to have success in fantasy. And we just appreciate the support we've gotten on the Fantasy Football Factory podcast so far. I feel like we're off to a great start. And the next one will be out Tuesday morning. And I hope you all win y'all's matchups today. Shay, you got anything you want to add?
Let's stay winning. Any questions, certainly feel free to hit us up. But yeah, we like to help you guys win. We are 8-0 last week. Hopefully we can continue to ride those hot hands. And let's keep it going. New Fantasy Football Factory pod out Tuesday morning. We're going to be talking you through your waiver wire pickups. So be sure to tune into that and subscribe to it to get the latest alerts. Follow FFF Pod on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We'll be there for you every step of the way. Thanks, guys, for listening. Good luck.